You know Kiki Palmer, right? The internet's big sister, the loudest in the group chat, the human meme machine, and a generational talent with a range of 5 careers, but somehow still underrated. She can sing, act, host, write, produce, launch a digital network, call out colorism in a viral tweet, and still have time to drop a flawless selfie from the NICU. And yet, for someone who's been famous since flip phones, there's always been this strange cultural delay. It's like the world was clocking in late to a show that's been sold out since 2006. We quote her, we meme her, we say, "I'm sorry to that man" at least once a week, and still, people talk about her like she's just now entering her prime. But let's fix that right here and right now, because Kiki Palmer didn't just glow up. She grew up loud, funny, brilliant, and visible, while the world tried to box her in. While the industry praised subtlety and silence, she built her own damn stage with lip gloss, punchlines, and unmatched work ethic. This isn't a comeback, it's a reclamation. And by the end of this video, if you don't think she deserves every award, every headline, every seat at every table, I'm sorry to you, man. Chapter 1. A Star is Already Born. The Birth of Kiki the Talker. Before she was internet royalty, before the memes and the movie deals and the catchphrases, before she became the go-to example of multi-hyphenate black girl excellence, Kiki Palmer was just a kid from Harvey, Illinois. But not just any kid, no. Kiki came out of the womb sounded like she had somewhere to be and something to say. Born Lauren Kiana Palmer on August 26, 1993, she had the vocal cords of a Baptist auntie and the confidence of a woman who had already survived a cheating scandal and written a memoir about it. She was funny, fearless, and loud in the best way. Her mother was a teacher and her father worked for a polyurethane company, and both were former actors themselves, so talent ran in the house like Sunday dinner. But this was not some silver spoon household. This was a you gonna have to pray and hustle household. Kiki sang in church, performed at local events, and was already doing impressions by the time most kids were still learning the alphabet. Her parents quickly realized this child was built for the stage. By the age of 9, Kiki auditioned for The Lion King on Broadway, and when she didn't get it, she was probably sad about it and cried, but she recalibrated anyways. She bounced back, pivoted, and showed up somewhere bigger, louder, and cuter. Cut to 2004 when Kiki landed her first film role in Barbershop 2 Back in Business, playing Queen Latifah's niece. At just 11 years old, she was sharing scenes with Latifah, Ice Cube, and Cedric the Entertainer, and holding her own like she paid taxes. Hollywood took note, but her real breakthrough came 1 year later in 2006, the year of the bee. You cannot talk about Kiki Palmer's glow up without giving Aquila and the Bee the flowers it deserves. At just 12 years old, Kiki played Aquila Anderson, a shy but brilliant girl from South Los Angeles who enters the National Spelling Bee. But let's be clear here, this was not only a spelling bee movie, it was Rocky for smart black kids. It was where most of us heard the word pulchritude for the first time and immediately ran to our dictionaries to find the meaning. And many of us shed tears because of how empowered we felt hearing the poem Our Deepest Fear by Marianne Williamson for the first time. Kiki gave a performance so moving that it felt like a PSA for talent, and she held her ground next to Lawrence Fishburne and Angela Bassett like it was her film, because honestly it was. She carried it, the critics knew it, and she won the NAACP Image Award for Outstanding Actress, was nominated for Critics' Choice Award, and suddenly, she wasn't just that funny girl from Chicago, she was Kiki Palmer, lead actress material. And in a world where child stars crash and burn and tweet wild things around 2 a.m. and then get into tabloid wars with the mouse-eared corporation that raised them, Kiki Palmer didn't spiral, she expanded. After a phenomenal hit like Aquila and the Bee, most people would have stayed in the dramatic lane, but not Kiki. She pivoted into singing and snagged a record deal, and then she dropped a debut album, So Uncool, in 2007. The album didn't top charts, but the message was loud and clear: do not box me. She guest starred on shows like Cold Case and ER, dropped singles, and then because the multiverse just could not contain her, she bagged the lead role in True Jackson VP on Nickelodeon in 2008. True Jackson VP was about a 15-year-old black girl who becomes vice president of a billion-dollar fashion company. Yes, vice president, not intern, not receptionist, vice president at 15 during a recession.
And listen listen good. We have a situation. Hunter and Kill rejected our last design, so we need to get a new one to them immediately. Here's how it's going down. Ryan.
Present.
You and Oscar need to whip up a new design.
For a whole generation of black girls, Keke Palmer was the first time we saw a teenage boss who looked like any other black girl in the neighborhood. Representation on steroids. She wasn't comic relief, she wasn't the sidekick, she was the main character. In a power blazer and lip gloss, handling business, making decisions, and dating boys who respected her boundaries. Imagine that. And behind the scenes, Sis was making $20,000 an episode. That made her one of the highest paid child stars on TV at the time, making history. But even with the coins, the fans, and the fame, there was always a catch. Child stars aren't allowed to grow, especially not the dark-skinned ones. And there's always a glass ceiling between child-friendly roles and leading lady roles. And once Keke aged out of the teen sitcom mold, Hollywood went quiet. Chapter 2. Talented but underrated. So True Jackson VP ends in 2011, and you'd think Hollywood would be lining up. This girl had charisma, comic timing, vocals, ratings, awards, the whole triple threat starter pack. But instead, crickets. The phone stopped ringing, not because she wasn't good, but because the industry couldn't figure out what to do with her. You see, this is the part of the glow up nobody posts on Instagram, because there's this unspoken rule in Hollywood. If you're a black girl who came up on a kids show, your options shrink very fast. You're either cast as the edgy best friend, the tragic baby mama, or the girl who's not quite right for the role because we went in a different direction. Translation: you're too grown, too talented, and too black for what we wrote. So Keke did what only a true multi-hyphenate could do. She stopped waiting for permission and got to work behind the scenes. She was Cinderella on Broadway in 2014, the first black woman to play the role on that stage, and she crushed it. High notes, glass slippers and all. She was hilarious and chaotic in Scream Queens, glam and grown in Hustlers, soulful in Joyful Noise, and quietly stunning in Pimp, a gritty indie film that barely got any press but showed her range was untouched. She didn't go full recluse or fade into nostalgia. She just quietly clocked in on indie films, stage plays, straight to streaming flicks, anything that let her sharpen the blade. Keke didn't wait for Hollywood to rediscover her. She simply kept popping up again and again in places the industry wasn't looking. And by the time the 2020s rolled around, Keke Palmer had been in the industry for almost 2 decades. That's a career lifespan some actors never reach, and yet somehow she was still fighting for her flowers. But instead of feeling discouraged and maybe just giving up, this was the era when she took the leap from being a former child star to a full-fledged adult actress with sharp edges, comic timing, and something to say. She wasn't asking for anyone's permission to do it either. Let's start with Hustlers in 2019. J-Lo was getting her critical re-up and Cardi B was getting her first movie credit, and in the middle of it all, Keke Palmer playing Mercedes, a stripper with a scammer smile. What Keke did in that movie was subtle but very effective, grounded, funny, and real. It also reminded anyone paying attention that she's got range. She was grown now, and that she could hold her own next to women with Grammys and Golden Globes. And yet, when the press cycle rolled through, Keke's name was often an afterthought. The stories didn't revolve around her, even though her performance was tight, sharp, professional as always. But she didn't sulk, she didn't post about being overlooked, she did what she's always done, booked the next job. In 2020, she hosted the MTV VMAs. That same year, she was voicing characters in Big Mouth and Proud Family, Louder and Prouder. She was in Scream Queens, she was recording music, and she was launching KeyTV, a digital platform aimed at uplifting black creators. She also had her own skincare line, Kiana, in development. While some celebs are one-person brands, Keke was running a full production house out of her own ambition. But then came the moment that should have made the industry pause. Nope. Jordan Peele's 2020 sci-fi thriller was built for conversation, and Keke delivered one of the most electric performances of the year. As Emerald Haywood, she was funny, cocky, chaotic, and charismatic.
Hello! How y'all doing? Sorry for the tardiness. My name is Emerald. That's OJ. But we like to say since the moment pictures could move, we had skin in the game.
From the moment she stepped on screen, the entire theater shifted, and she stole the film with a character that could have easily been flat. Instead, Keke made her real, iconic, and complex. Critics noticed, audiences definitely noticed. But the award bodies were just quiet, as in no Oscar buzz, no Golden Globe nod, not even a casual name drop in the ones to watch list. It was a cultural moment, but not in a good way, because if that performance had come from a white actress, let's just say we'd still be hearing about it on podcasts and industry panels. Think about how Jennifer Lawrence got swept into superstardom after Winter's Bone and Silver Linings Playbook. Keke Palmer, on the other hand, gave a full course meal of a performance and barely got offered dessert. So when a tweet went viral that year saying the difference between Keke Palmer and Zendaya is how Hollywood treats darker-skinned black women, Keke didn't disagree. She responded, "I'm an incomparable talent. Baby, this is Keke Palmer. I've been a leading lady since I was 11 years old. I've got over 100 credits and currently starring in an original screenplay that's #1 film at the box office. I've got a blessed career thus far. I couldn't ask for more, but God continues to surprise me." Mic drop. But buried under the subtext was a truth too many black women in Hollywood already know. You can be booked, blessed, and still underrated. Where Zendaya had to only look good on poppers, Keke Palmer had to act, sing, host, dance, joke, and start her own platform on poppers just to stay in the conversation. And she still wasn't handed the keys to the kingdom. But Keke was never waiting on the gatekeeper anyways. She was already building her own studio. Chapter 3. The meme queen who's always had range. While the industry squinted at Keke Palmer trying to figure out whether she was a serious actress or a personality, the internet already had her figured out. She was both and then some. Because before the award shows could catch up, Twitter, Tumblr, Black Twitter, and TikTok already knew the truth. Keke was hilarious, high-performing, and high-key iconic. She had the range, the face, and the talent, and most importantly, the timing. Let's talk about the moment that launched 1,000 memes. I'm sorry to that man. It was 2019 and Keke Palmer was doing a lie detector interview with Vanity Fair, and she was handed a photo of former Vice President Dick Cheney and asked if she recognized him. Keke looked politely confused, blinked, smiled, and said, "I hate to say it, I hope I don't sound ridiculous. I don't know who this man is. He could be walking down the street and I wouldn't know a thing. Sorry to this man."
I hate to say it, I hope I don't sound ridiculous. I don't know who this man is. I mean, he could be walking down the street, I wouldn't know a thing. Sorry to this man.
And just like that, the internet crowned her the meme queen of the decade. That clip hit like lightning, and suddenly, Keke Palmer wasn't just a childhood memory or a background player in a Jordan Peele film. She was everywhere. Her face was on your group chats, your mood boards, your Monday morning tweets. The line was funny, and we all could relate to it because honestly, a lot of us wouldn't even know who that person is. And this was not an isolated moment because it's always been like this. There's the now infamous moment where a fan said she looked like Millie Bobby Brown, and Keke, visibly confused, gave a kind of "oh, okay," and a smile that was so forced it belongs in a hostage video. And then there's the "you ain't got no job" TikTok audio that got sampled into oblivion. And then we've also got the "you know it's your girl" moment with Megan Thee Stallion that was also echoed during her tunnel walk at the Jennifer Hudson show.
I know it ain't the stallion. You know it's your girl. I know it ain't Keke Palmer. You know it's your girl.
The dance challenges, the lip syncs, the key TV skits, it all flowed from her natural ability to entertain without trying too hard. That's what made it stick. Her first video on her platform, Key TV, was a cinematic mini-movie that joked about her own many careers and asked, what if there was a place where you didn't have to choose?
Hi, I'm Lauren Palmer, and this is Keke Palmer. I learned how to be a few things, like an actress. Did I mention I could sing too? And I even learned to write, because you know I have a lot to say. And last, but certainly not least, I learned how to be a director. And cut!
Chapter 4. Motherhood, the Usher saga, and the reinvention of the baddie mama. By the time Keke launched Key TV, she had already entered her grown woman era, and the whole world knew that. But nobody was expecting what came next: a surprise pregnancy reveal, a full-blown public saga involving Usher, and a post-baby glow-up so loud it practically needed its own publicist. Let's back it up a bit. In December 2022, Keke was hosting Saturday Night Live for the first time. She stepped into a sleek brown blazer and bodysuit, glowing like always, but this time she had a secret. And then, mid-monologue, she casually unbuttoned the coat and revealed her baby bump like it was no big deal.
There's some rumors going around. People have been in my comments saying Kiki's having a baby, Kiki's pregnant, and I want to set the record straight. I am.
And then suddenly it was vintage Kiki all over again, funny, direct, and show-stopping in her own language. A few months later, in February 2023, she gave birth to her son, Leodis, aka Leo, and if the world thought Kiki was about to slow down and disappear into motherhood, they clearly hadn't been paying attention to her for the last 2 decades, because instead of hiding, Kiki hit the gas. She was back on red carpets and in front of cameras, and her post-baby fashion was louder, hotter, and more defiant than ever. She wasn't given mom era, she was given poster girl for postpartum power. Every outfit said, yes, I'm a mother and I'm still that girl. And then came the Usher saga. Summer 2023, Usher's Las Vegas residency. Kiki attends the show in a sheer black dress with a bodysuit underneath. Flirty, stylish, nothing outrageous. Usher walks over during the performance and sings, "There goes my baby," to her like he does to every woman in the audience, and Kiki laughs and leans into the moment. Nothing scandalous, except the internet blew up. Her then partner Darius Jackson posted a now infamous tweet, "It's the outfit though. You're a mom." And just like that, we had a cultural lightning rod. The backlash was instant. People started defending Kiki and celebrating her as well, because it wasn't about the dress, it was about the double standard, the idea that motherhood meant she suddenly had to tone herself down, that once you had a child, you owed the world modesty, humility, and invisibility. But Keke Palmer, she took the whole mess and flipped it into a power move. First, she posted a few lighthearted photos with the caption, "I'm a mother," playing into the moment with a wink. Then she had a full-on music video collab with Usher titled "Boyfriend," and the opening line, "Somebody said your boyfriend's looking for me." The video dropped in August 2023 and broke the internet again. And Kiki was front and center. She was dancing, acting, hitting comedic beats, and looking like she just stepped out of a Bond girl audition. The message was clear. You don't get to tell Keke Palmer what she's allowed to be, not as a woman, not as a mother, and definitely not as a baddie. And this baddie version of herself that she leaned into had its own edgy wardrobe, from form-fitting corsets to sleek latex dresses and skin-bearing jumpsuits. Kiki's looks screamed autonomy. Final chapter, give her flowers. From Aquila and the Bee to One of Them Days, her #1 2025 film starring alongside SZA, it's obvious that her journey wasn't a quiet come-up. It was a long, loud, and intentional one. She didn't rebrand, she persisted. She didn't go viral once, she's been culturally relevant for 2 decades straight. And so far, Kiki has had 58 award nominations with 24 wins, including 2 Primetime Emmys and 8 NAACP Image Awards. But even when the award show stayed quiet and the prestige media played catch-up, the culture already knew, because Black women online saw her. They clipped her interviews, they reposted her one-liners, they staged her red carpet slays and supported her music. They tuned into her live streams and bought her skincare. And they celebrated her pregnancy like it was a cousin's gender reveal. The industry may have been late, but the people were early. But Kiki's story is not a comeback story. It's a culmination of 20 years in front of the camera, of talent that never needed to be proven, and of hustle that never waited for approval. And if the industry still doesn't know what to do with the enormous personality that is Keke Palmer, that's fine, because we do. My name is Georgia The Map, and this is the second video in the Glow Up series, where we talk about people who persevered, changed their story, flipped the script to attain the level of success that they have right now. This series is aimed to inspire you and show you real stories of real people who could do it, because if they can do it, you can do it. Have a wonderful day and see you again in the next video. Bye.